Hello and welcome to this first look exploring session, the first looking at the Tragedy of Hoffman, or A Revenge for a Father, by Henry Chettle. It is a cheerful, happy play. It's a tragedy, and I thought we've done quite a lot of comedies of late. Actually, it's just been this unremitting depression that settles in doing so many comedies, because comedy doesn't age well in a way that tragedy often does, because even if you don't like any of the people, a fairly large percentage of them will die horribly. So it's always reassuring and always cheers up the room. So we'll see how this is going to go. So in the Tragedy of Hoffman, or Revenge for a Father, reading Hoffman himself is
Sarah Blake, actor, writer and director in Germany.
Reading Rodorick is
Alan in Suffolk.
Not to be confused with Lodowick, and Stilt and Austria is...
Hi, I'm Eric. I'm here. I usually work in tech support. Our internet was bad today. It was hilarious. It's not that fun.
Have you tried switching it on, off and on again? Reading Lorrique, Jerome and Saxony is...
Aliki, Chapple, occasionally actor, more often translator, based in the north of England.
Reading Otho and Mathias is...
Francis Cox, actor and voice artiste, living in Amsterdam.
And reading Prussia, Herald and Lucibella is...
Lynn, I live in the northwestern United States and I'm a teacher.
Well, perhaps that should be Lucibella. I don't know. As ever, play around with pronunciations because I haven't got a clue. So we're going to find out how this goes. There may be some clashes. We're slightly shorter on readers than we were expecting, so I've moved a few pots around. So it may be some of the doubling will not work. We shall find out in the exciting adventures of Revenge for a Father. Act 1, Scene 1. Hoffman discovered alone. Drinking a glass of water.
Hence, clouds of melancholy, I'll be no longer subject to your schisms. But thou, dear soul, whose nerves and arteries in dead resounding summon up revenge, and thou shalt have it. But be appeased, sweet hearse, thou dead remembrance of my living father.
Strikes ope a curtain where appears a body.
And with a heart as air, swift as thought, I'll execute it justly in such a cause. Where truth leadeth, what coward would not fight? Ill acts move some, but mine's a cause is right.
Thunder and lightning.
See! The powers of heaven in apparitions, and sight full aspects, as incented that I thus tardy am to do an act which justice and a father's death excites. Like threatening meteors, antedates destruction.
Thunder!
Again, I come, I come, I come. Be silent, those effigies of fair virtue, that, like a goodly sign, were plucked up by murderous winds, infectious blasts and gusts. I will not leave thee until, like thyself, I've made thy enemies. Then, hand in hand, we'll walk to paradise. Again, more blessed! I'll to yon promont's top, and there survey what shipwrecked passengers the Belgic sea casts from her foamy entrails by mischance. Roar, seas and winds, and with celestial fires quicken high projects with your highest desires.
Enter Lorrique.
Yes, this is somewhat like. But, Brambles, you are too busy. Were I at Lüneburg, and you catched me thus, I should go near to ask you at whose suit. But now I'm out of scent, and fear no sergeants, for I think these woods and waters are commonwealths that need no such subjects. Nay, they keep not a constable at sea, but A man's overwhelmed without order. Well, dry land, I love thee, though thou swarm with millions of devourers. Yet hast thou no such swallow as the sea?
Thou liest! There lives upon the earth more beasts with wide devouring throats than can be found of ravenous fishes in the ocean. The huge Leviathan is but a shrimp compared with our Bellina on the land.
I am of your mind. But the whale has a wide mouth to swallow fleeting waters and poor fish.
But we have epicures and cormorants, whom neither sea nor land can hardly serve. They feed them far, while arms and honour starve. Desert looks pale as death, like those bare bones.
Amazed.
Seest thou then, trembling slave? Here were arms that served the trothless state of Louisbourg.
So do I, sir, serve the Duke's son of the state.
I laugh to see how dastard fear hastens the death-doomed wretch to his distress. Say, didst thou serve the Duke of Louisbourg?
His son Otho, sir. I'm a poor follower of his, and my master is erring of himself at your cell.
Is he that scaped the wreck young Louisbourg?
Nay, sir, the same. You're in the right, sir.
Revenge, I'll kiss thee. Vengeance, you're at liberty. Wouldst thou, having lost a father as I have, whose very name dissolves my eyes to tears, should duty and thy love so different prove, not to avenge his death, whose better part was thine, thou his, when he fell, part of thee fell with him, each drop being part thine own? Wouldst thou not be revenged?
Yes, upon the murderer.
On him? Or any man that is allied, or has 1 ounce of blood of which he's part? He was my father. My heart still bleeds. Nor can my wounds be stopped till an incision I've made to bury my dead father in. Therefore, without protraction, sighing, or excuses, swear to be true, to aid, assist me, not to stir or contradict me in any enterprise I shall now undertake or hereafter.
And an inferred stage direction of him drawing his sword and threatening Lorrique to compliance, possibly not actual.
I swear.
Were I persuaded that thou couldst shed tears, as doth the Egyptian serpent near the Nile, if thou wouldst kiss and kill, embrace and stab, then shouldst thou live. For my invective brain hath cast a glorious project of revenge, e'en as thou kill'st. Wilt thou turn villain? Speak.
Oh, sir, when was I otherwise? From my creation, nothing else. I was made of no other stuff. Villainy is my patrimony. Though I be an irreligious slave, yet I have a religious name. Though I want courage, yet in talk I put them all down. Though I have nothing in me that is good, yet I'll...
Forbear! Thy lord is coming. I'll go in and royally provide for such a prince. Say thou hast met the kindest heart alive, one that adores him with no less zeal than rich men gold or true religious heaven. Dissemble cunningly, and thou shalt prove the minion of my thoughts, friend of my love.
Well, sir, never fear me.
And exit Hoffman.
This is an excellent fellow, a true villain, fitter for me than better company. This is Hans Hoffman's son, that stole down his father's anatomy from the gallows at Louisbourg. Aye, 'tis the same. Upon the dead skull there is an iron crown that burnt his brains out. What will come of this I neither know nor care. Here comes my lord.
But before we get on to the approach of his lord, I think we should just unpack this, because tonally, I said, this is a tragedy. It's not a comedy, but it doesn't half feel like it's a bit extra. I know I really went for the thunder, but that's just because I couldn't find my thunder thing. It's rolling behind something. So I was sort of going very all out. But yeah, so this is the Admiral's Men. This is probably performed, I think, at the Fortune. This is very early 1603, so technically it's still 1602 in old money. The Queen is just about still alive probably when this premieres, but maybe not. Might be a bit dead by now. So we're literally on the pivot point between late Elizabethan and early Jacobean, if that means anything. And yeah, there's a lot here. There's a lot. I'm enjoying it, but I think there is an interesting tonal question as to how much laughter this is designed to evoke, and how much it just draws it out because, yeah, it's very extra. Aliki.
I mean, yeah, is it? I don't really have an answer. I can see it being played straight-faced as full melodrama. It's just that full melodrama doesn't land that well anymore. But it feels like there might be a bit of room for other stuff there. And I don't know, maybe that's partly because I ended up finding a characterization that drew me in that direction. But yeah.
Yeah, it's Sarah than Eric.
I think it's tricky, isn't it, for a modern audience because it starts, because it's so extra from the very moment it opens. Like you've got the body being revealed, like literally after what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines of dialogue, and then a curtain opens and there's a body hanging, and then the thunder starts, and I think it's just really difficult to do that to a modern audience without them laughing, really. But I don't know. I mean, like Aliki, I have no answers. I don't know if that's sort of something that an early modern audience would have just been immediately grabbed by and sucked into, or whether they'd have been laughing as well. We can't possibly know yet till we're a bit more into it, like what the tone is.
And yeah, I mean, it does feel like it's a universal horror film from the 1930s, isn't it? It feels like that early version of Frankenstein. It's alive. No, it's dead. So Eric, then Francis.
I was going to say that the curtain opening, the whole strikes the curtain and the body is revealed, reminded me of a comedy that we've done, one of the Humor Out of Breath by John Day, where you've got this whole scene of like one of the characters who's in love with the other character, basically Aspario, I can't remember his name, is in love with Florimel, and he basically pretends to be dead on a table somewhere, yeah, that's what it reminded me of. So it was kind of very strange. I'm
fairly certain Humor Out of Breath is after this, so it might be that it's explicitly riffing off elements of this play, and it might be that this play is riffing off plays by another company as well. So there might be a parody element in here, but whether that's a dominant note or whether, because we're on top of Marston doing things with boys' companies as well, that are being a bit extra and playing around with genre. So I do wonder about that. Francis and Sarah.
Yeah, I was thinking how a modern audience would react to the uncovering of the body would depend very much on how you stage the whole thing, because towards the end of that section we've just read, Lorrique gives us an account of how the father died, and it seems he died on the gallows, and there was an iron crown that burnt his brains out. I mean, that's a pretty horrifying image. So, if you had this sort of, I don't know, blackened and burned cadaver hanging there on stage, you might get a few gasps out of a modern audience.
I think it's a thing. The problem with it is it starts at 100 miles an hour in terms of tone, and it's like you kind of need to set an atmosphere for this before the show starts. So I wonder for a modern audience if, there's doom-laden tones being boomed out, lots of smoke, hazer filling the place, and that you see the body from the off, actually, or you see the silhouette of the body. So you've got, you set the tone, because otherwise, pull open the thing and you're asking for trouble. Whereas if you establish the mood before it starts, then we're okay, or potentially more okay. Sarah, then Lynn, and then Eric again.
You could take it even further and actually have the murder. You could stage the whole murder with the whole grisly. I mean, I don't know quite how you do being killed to death with a burning crown, but I'm sure you could find a way to do it, and then that would quieten down your audience fairly quickly. I would imagine. That's actually not what I was going to say though. We've done another play, like back in the midst of time. We did a play with a hanging body. Antonio's
Revenge.
Antonio's Revenge. Was that the same company as this?
Different company. So this is Admiral's Men. This is a adult playing company. Antonio's Revenge was a boys' company play.
Okay. And was that before or after this?
It's pretty much bang on top. I will check the date, but it's off the top of my head. It predates this probably by a couple of years.
Okay.
But not by much.
So the early 1600s was the fashion for hanging bodies.
Seems to be a thing. Antonio's Revenge, by my rough notes, is 1600, so about 2 to 3 years before this. And I don't know how much of a turnover there was with boys' company plays, so it might have been effectively about for quite a while before they ran out of reasons to perform it. So it might be still quite a current image. And of course, the Spanish tragedy is still knocking about. I think that's probably going through its second set of revivals by now or something. I can't remember, but I wouldn't be surprised. So these things are knocking about. Lynn.
Oh, I was just going to say the effect that you're going for, the effect that you get, depends a lot on how persuasive your prop is. I mean, if it's just an actor lying there pretending to be dead, or if you've got a really convincing and realistic body, or if it indeed, at the other end of the scale, it's obviously a dummy. So, I mean, what your prop looks like is going to contribute really heavily to your tone. If you're mocking all of this, just make the body look super unconvincing and stupid. So,
Eric.
Yeah, I was going to say that this reminds me a bit also, like the extra element reminded me a bit of all the student plays that we've done, that we've read, where it's like, there was blood and more blood and guts and more guts. And it's kind of like, over the top. But then we've also done stuff like, oh shit, I can't remember now. I even played Cupid. Anyway, the one time, no, okay. Like the Iron Crown that burnt his brains out, we've had elaborate descriptions of people being murdered and hanged and like their hearts being torn out and stuff and that kind of thing. So I guess you could, depends on the tone.
I mean, it is interesting actually, because I was saying at the beginning of the recording that we've done a lot of comedies of late, and it does feel like all we've done is comedy for the last 5 years of stage. We haven't, because we did Mastered a bit out of order in terms of we've been working chronologically with a lot of things, but that's just the way the record comes to us. Maybe this kind of bloody tragedy has been about, they just haven't been printed as much, and say we've done a few out of order, so we've not kept quite up with it. How current is this level of extraness is a question, because it feels very 20 years ago. I don't know how, and it may be becoming a thing again now, but I don't know whether that wave is a real thing or not. But okay, we know that a modern audience may struggle with the extraness of it all at this opening gambit, so we've got some thoughts there. Eric, otherwise we'll move on.
It was just a question. At what point, compared to like other plays, like is this before or after the tragedy of Gismunda and Tancred and stuff? Because like I know that there were like 10,000 versions of that one, so it's kind of like
the one we've done twice is good 20 years 30 years earlier than this. I mean,
Wow.
it's in the previous century. There is another version going forward at some point down the line, but yeah. So that's why I say that's sort of in the Spanish tragedy end of things.
Yeah. It's just interesting how they get revived or not.
Okay, well, Hoffman has exited, and Lorrique was left alone, and then enter Prince Otto.
How cheers, my noble, my most honourable, my most gracious, yea, my most grieved prince.
'Tis a fearful storm.
I'm full of horror.
Trust me, Lorrique. Besides the inly grief that swallows my content, when I perceive how greedily the fierce, unpitying sea and waves devoured our friends, another trouble grieves my vexed eyes with ghastly apparitions, strange aspects, which either I do certainly behold, or else my soul, divining some sad tale, fills my imaginary power with shapes and hideous and horrid.
My lord, let your heart have no commerce with that mart of idle imaginations. Rouse up your nobleness to apprehend comfort, kindness, ease, and what otherwise entertains so solitary a place as this can the ancient subject of the state of Lennenburg collect. 'Tis, I take it, the son of that vice-admiral that turned a terrible pirate.
Let us turn hack into the sea again, yielding our bodies to the ruthless sound that hath divided us and our late friends, rather than see Klaus Hoffman.
Oh, courage, brave Otto, he'll use thee kindly.
Enter Hoffman.
Here he comes! Sweet host, here is the Duke's son of Lunenburg. Do homage, and after entertain him, and me his follower, with the most conspicuous pleasures that lie in thy poor ability.
Before I speak to my most sacred lord, I join my soft lips to the solid earth, and with an honourable benison I bless the hour, the place, the time of your arrive. For now my savage life, lad among beasts, shall be turned civil by your gracious help.
I see thy heart's true love drop down in tears, and this embrace shows I am free from fears.
Embraces Hoffman.
My distended blood runs smoothly through my veins, and I am bold to call thee friend, bold to entreat food, for by wreck I've lost ship, friends, and meat.
You that attend, my lord, enter the cave. Bring forth the homely cates, these hands prepared, while I entreat his excellence sit down. Villain, bring nothing but a burning crown.
Exit Lorrique.
What's that thou bidst him bring? A burning crown?
Still you suspect my harmless innocence. What, though your father, with the power of state and your just uncle, Duke of Prussia, after my father had, in 30 fights, filled their treasuries with foemen's spoils and paid poor soldiers from his treasury, what though, for these his merits, he was named a prescript outlaw for a little debt, compelled to fly into the Baltic Sound and live a pirate?
Prithee, speak no more. Thou raisest new doubts in my troubled heart by repetition of thy father's wrongs.
Then he was wronged, you grant, but not by you. You, virtuous gentleman, sat like a just judge of the undershades, and with an unchanged Rhadamanthine look beheld the flesh, mangled with many scars, pared from the bones of my offended father. And when he was a bare anatomy, you saw him chained unto the common gallows.
Hoffman!
Nay, hear me patiently, kind lord. My innocent youth, as guilty of his sin, was in a dungeon hidden from the sun, and there I was condemned to endless night, except I pass my vow never to steal my father's fleshless bones from that base tree, a woman in whose heart there still remained a lingering sense of pity, here stepped forth. I knew not who it was. I guess your mother. She kneeled and wept for me. But you did not. Beseeching from that vow I might be free. Then did I swear, if nature's sovereign power compelled me to take down those naked bones, I never would release them from those chains, never entomb them, but immediately remove them from that gallows to a tree. I kept mine oath. Look, Lüneburg, 'tis done. Behold a father hanged up by his son.
And
Oh,
either
horror.
here reveals the skeleton again, or maybe just turns him around. We don't actually know precisely how this moment is achieved.
Oh, horrible aspect. Murderer, stand off. I know thou meet'st me wrong.
My lord, behold these precious twins of light, burnt out, eclipsed. By day, when as the sun for shame obscured himself, this deed was done, where none but screech owls sung. Thou receptacle, thou organ of the soul, rest, go rest, and you, most lovely couplets, legs and arms, reside for ever here. This is my last farewell. What, do you weep?
Oh, Lorrique, I am betrayed. Slave, touch me not.
Not touch thee? Yes, and thus strip down thy pride. You placed my father in a chair of state. This earth shall be your throne. Villain, come forth.
Enter Lorrique with burning crown.
And as thou mean'st to save thy forfeit life, pix on thy master's head my burning crown, while in these cords I, in eternal bands, bind fast his base and coward trembling hands.
Lorrique, art thou turned villain to my life?
I will turn anything, sir, rather than nothing. I was taken alive and promised to betray you. I love life so well that I would lose it not for a kingdom, for a king's crown, an empire.
On with the crown.
And we again infer that they forced the crown on Otho's head.
Oh, torture, above measure.
My father felt this pain when thou hadst pleasure.
Thy father died for piracy.
Oh, peace! Had he been judge himself, he would have showed he had been clearer than the crystal morn. But wretches sentenced never find defence, however guiltless be thy innocence. No more did he. No more shalt thou. No ruth pitied his winter age, none helps thy youth.
Oh, Lorrique, torture, I feel an Etna burn within my brains, and all my body else is like a hill of ice. These Baltic seas that now surround us cannot quench this flame. Death, like a tyrant, spiseth me unawares. My sinews shrink like leaves parched with the sun. My blood dissolves, my nerves and tendons fail. Each part disjointed, and my breath expires. Mount, soul, to heaven. My body burns in fires.
And he dies.
He's gone.
Let him go. Come, Lorrique, this is but the prologue to the ensuing play. The first step to revenge, this scene is done. Father, I offer thee thy murderous son.
Exeunt. So, I mean, they say here, you know, this is but the prologue to the ensuing play. Feels like Act 5 to me. I mean, did anyone else feel that they just walked in halfway through a play and just go, oh, bugger, I'll catch the last 10 minutes. I mean, everything just suddenly happens. It's like, I don't have time to care. I'm just here for the spectacle of death. Lynn.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. If someone had given me this scene to read completely out of context, I would be like, "Oh, this is the end of the play. There might be a little bit after that, but this is the culmination of a tragedy, not the beginning." It's so weird.
But it's like it's with films and television today. It's like the executive producers turned up and said, "Guys, you need to start with something to start with a bang." And I love the way that Hoffman is a bit meta throughout this, of just going, "This is a play," but I also love the way his asides are shit. He says, "Get the burning crown." Did you just say burning crown?
Wow.
I'm just going, yeah, I'm loving this. And I think, again, this question of tone. When Lorrique says he's gone, it's like, especially after, Otho gets this marvelous death scene. I mean, it's great. I mean, this is a part I'd love to play. I'd be, and no doubling. I'd just turn up, do this, go to the bar. That's me done. That's me done. Yeah. I'm loving this so far. It's my cup of tea. Sarah was hiding behind a cushion.
I'm quite squeamish, and I find this whole burning crown thing quite disturbing. But then, hey, this is a 17th century tragedy, so
yeah. I mean,
I should have known what to expect.
Alan.
I must admit, I'm getting the mental image of Arthur Brown and the "I am the god of hellfire." For anybody old enough to remember it,
which was quite literally a burning crown.
It was
from which was moderately setting fire to his head, as I recall, because they hadn't properly rehearsed it or prepped it before, and it was recorded live for Top of the Pops, and it was literally slightly burning him. But that's live television for the '60s for you. Anyway, look it up on YouTube. It's good stuff. Anyway, other thoughts from this scene? Francis.
Yeah, I was wondering how they would have staged it back in early modern times.
Acting. It does feel like this is you just act it. I mean, you just have a prop that looks a bit like it's glowing.
Yeah.
And you just go for it.
Because these now you can do a bit more with technology.
I mean, if this was a film, it's an 18 certificate from off.
Yeah.
And I don't think you could not do it that way.
No.
I mean, it'd be one of those things. The camera sweeps away just as it's about to go down on his head or something. But I don't know. Maybe not. Eric.
Yeah, I was curious because, I've heard of things like people being nailed to chairs and stuff and that kind of thing. At least historically, I mean, I was trying to work out how this would work, and apparently, it's basically the heated metal that kills you, not the actual crown itself. But I mean, not by itself. Yeah.
There's the pain and the so it does take time to kill you. So yeah. I mean, maybe you have tubes with, I don't know what sort of equivalent of dry ice effect they might have had then. So maybe they had that, because you'd want smoke. You'd want smoke at this moment. I've devised quite a few deaths in my time on stage, so I'm just pointing out that this on a technical level pleases me. Francis.
Yeah, you also have to suspend a bit of disbelief with this scene, because Lorrique goes off and just finds a burning crown. I mean, who has one of those lying around?
Oh, I think it's got a prep area around the back. I mean, it's all laid out. It's just there's instructions. There's a laminated instruction sheet that is all set out for him.
But how does he bring it on as well? I mean, does he have a pair of
oven mitts, like those barbecue mitts?
Oh yeah.
Asbestos gloves.
Yeah.
Though they haven't discovered asbestos yet, have they?
No.
So, anyway, I'd imagine tongs.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Sarah.
That would actually be another really good way to open the play. before he starts speaking, Hoffman, if he's forging the crown. If he, or actually he could actually still be forging it while he's doing his soliloquy at the beginning, if he's like pounding away and like you've got the molten metal and I mean, I don't know how you'd stage it, but I'm sure these days you could. And then he's got it in tongs and he kind of puts it somewhere and then
just working the bellows, just working to heat up the coals.
make it really hot and sweaty. And the other thing, going on from the thing about you need smoke, the other thing you could do in a theatre if you really wanted to disgust your audience is you could actually also add in a smell of roasting meat or something, just to really freak them out.
Ooh, and a sizzling sound.
I feel we're going down the full Grand Guignol territory, and I'm all for it. I'm all for it. I think this is go hard or go home territory here, isn't it? There's no half measures with this play. You either go for it or you don't, and you hope the audience is with you. Because I say, if you don't get them in this first scene, totally screwed for the rest of the evening. Totally screwed. Eric.
I mean, this is unhygienic, but I assumed that the crown was basically what the device that had killed the father. So kind of as in, I had assumed it was the same crown, which is not good at all. But then that doesn't really make sense, because then if he was in prison at the time, he wouldn't be able to get the crown. So, I mean, like in terms of like content, narratively it makes no sense.
I would have think that it's quite. It might have slightly welded itself to his father's head. So I'm thinking he does say a, not the. So it's not the definite article of the one. So yeah, I don't think that level of this is getting grim. Aliki.
I have to go and get a package, but I agree with you, and I don't think he has time to heat up a cold crown off a skull.
No. I mean, I don't know what the timing on that is, but I know it takes a while to boil a kettle. So let's just say organising a crown is going to be that's going to take a while to get it up to the appropriate. I don't know what the best one is, but yeah, I mean it's we've had close to this in Game of Thrones, but I don't think they went for a burning crown. They did the whole pouring molten metal over someone's head thing, but. Which was another play that we did a couple of years ago, I think. So we're there. Anyway, let's move on. I'm not going to say it's going to get more cheerful than this, because it's not. But there's a bit more politics going on, and we might have some clashes, but we'll see how this goes. So Act 1, Scene 2. There's a flourish. Haven't had a flourish in a while. Enter Ferdinand, Duke of Prussia, Princes Lodowick and Mathias, Prince Rodorick, Prince Jerome, the Princess Lucibella, Stilt, pages and attendants.
Princes of Saxony and Austria, though your own words are of sufficient weight to justify the honourable love that's borne by Lodowick to bright Lucibel, yet, since your parents live, and, as I hear, there is between them some dissension, blame us not for detaining you thus long, till we had noticed how the business stood.
Your royal entertain, great Ferdinand, exceeding expectation in our stay, binds us to thanks. And if my brother please to hold his challenge for a tournament in praise of Lucibella's excellence, no doubt our father and the Austrian Duke will be in person at so royal sport.
We trust they will.
I do assure your grace, the Austrian and the Duke of Saxony, by true report of pilgrims of my cell, from either of their courts set hitherward some 6 days since.
Thanks, Rodorick, for these news. They are more welcome than the sad discourse of Lüneburg, our nephew's wreck, which addeth sorrow to the morning's griefs abounding in us for our Duchess' death.
Aye, truly, princes, my father has had but hard luck since your coming to his court. For aught I know, you are bred of ill weather, come before you're sent for. And yet, if my most gracious father say you are welcome, I, his more gracious son, take you by the hands. I can tell you my mother's death comes somewhat near my heart. But I am a prince, and princes have power more than common people to subdue their passions.
We know your worthiness is experienced in all true wisdom.
True, I am no fool. I have been at Wittenberg, where wit grows.
Peace, thou unshapen horror, my state's shame, my age's corrosive, and my luck's sin's curse. Oh, hadst thou never lived, I had been then a happy childless man. Now amongst men, I am the most unhappy, one that knows no end of mine nor of my people's woes. I tell you, princess, the most gracious maid, I do not wear these sable ornaments for Isabella's death, though she were dear, nor are my eyeballs overflowing with tears for Otto of Lüneburg, wrecked on the Sound, though he were all my hope. But here's my care. A witless fool must needs be Prussia's heir.
Well, and were you not my father's nails, and I would not draw, rather than put up the fool, would I might never win this lady at tilt and tournament. As knight, I defy you both for her, even you, Lodowick, that love her, and your brother that loves you. Look to me, Stilt, for I have practiced these 2 days. Nails, God forgive me to swear, she shall not be carried away so.
We are glad to hear your grace so resolute.
As I am a prince and a duke's heir, though I say it myself, I am as full of resolution as the proudest of you all.
Lucibella?
Oh, that's me too. Sorry.
There are, as I say, various confusing doublings.
I thank Prince Lodowick, as he has bound my youth to be the conqueror's prize, and if my stars allot me to be yours, I will be proud. For howsoever you seem not fashioned like me and cunning courtiers, I protest by some small love I bear thee, in mine eyes, your worthy beauty, wealth, and dignity is well deserved of all due respect.
Heart, who would not unhorse Hercules for her favors? I'll practice again at Danzig, I say, in the Duke's mead. I'll meet thee, Mathias. There's my glove for a gauntlet. Though my father count me a fool, you shall find me none.
Throws down his gauntlet and exit.
Would I might never find thee anything, for thou indeed art nothing in esteem. My sad soul sinks with sorrow at thy sight.
Enter Lorrique.
Health to the right gracious, generous, virtuous, valorous Ferdinand, Duke of Prussia.
Hermit, dost thou know this young man's face? Is not Lorrique that met us at thy cell with letters from our brother, Lüneburg?
It is that gentleman.
I am no less.
Thou sayest thou wert my nephew's playfellow, appointed to await his virtuous person. How is it then thou wert so ill advised to take the land away so? Forsake thy lord, whom I have never seen, nor never may, though in his life my hopes and comfort lay.
Oh, be it known, right gracious, Lorrique had never so little grace as to leave his loved lord for weather or water, for torture or fire, for death or for life, since he first came to move in a pilgrim's proportion, much disguised, being so proper a man, but only for these 6 words, that I was sent wholly to give notice of his coming.
But thou hast left him now, sunk in the sea.
I left the ship sunk, and his highness saved, for when all hope had left, master and pilot, sailor and swabber, I caused my lord to leap into the cock, and for fear she should be sunk with too much company, I capered out and cut the cable. Bows, quoth the ship against the rocks. Rover, cry I in the cock. My lord wept for the company. I laughed to comfort him. Last, by the power of heaven, goodness of stars, kindness of winds, mercy of the waves, our cock and we were cast ashore under Roserhoft. We clambered up, but having escaped drowning, were in danger of killing.
Be brave, what there betided you?
Marry, my lord, a young villain, son of a damned pirate, a maid ravisher.
Brief, what was he?
Klaus Hoffman.
Oh, my heart. Did the false rebel hurt his sovereign son?
No, my lord, the prince so howled and hosied him that he had no other help but put to his heels, and then I, my good lord, for being row-footed, outstripped him in running, tripped him by strength, and he finally cut his throat.
Where is the villain's body?
Mary even heaved over the scar and sent us swimming towards Birdholm, his old habitation, if it be not intercepted by some seal, shark, sturgeon, or such like.
Where is our nephew?
He intends to stay at the same hermitage where I saluted your excellence with news of my lord excellence's intent to visit you, for that his apparel is somewhat seasick, and he wants shift.
A chariot and rich robes attend Lorrique, and his reward be $1,300, for he hath driven dolour from our heart. Princes and princess, in your kindest love, attend our person to the hermitage, where we shall meet the heir of our two great states, rich Lüneburg and warlike Prussia. Otho, living, will disinherit our fond son, and bless our Danzig with our son-elect. Hermit, you have at home a guest of ours. Your little cell is a great prince's court. You have been there to entertain young Otto. He would have took your welcome thankfully, where now he mourns for want of company.
I will go on before, my gracious lord.
Nay, I am jealous of my approaching joy, and fearful any eye but mine should gain the pleasure of my glad divining soul. Forward come all, in my delight take part. Isle that's now... Oh,
sorry, that
ill.
should be he.
Oh, he, right. Okay. He that's now glad adds joy to gladness hearts.
And they exit. So, yeah. Politics, stuff, things. Aliki.
I mean, it's the politics of marriage again, mostly, right? Who's going to get to marry the girl? But yeah, I think we can begin to answer that question about tone. At least for me, for the two characters I read, I feel that there were too many comic elements in both of those to say that this is pure Grand Guignol kind of over-the-top bloodiness. The line from Jerome that's like, yeah, I'm a bit sad about my mom being dead, but that's fine. I'm a prince. I can handle that. Yeah. And then... forget his name, Lorrique comes in with all of this, as Alan pointed out in the chat. I think it was Alan pointed out in the chat, very clowny kind of ways of speaking.
Mm-hmm.
To have the accomplice of the chief villain, I think, be a clown leans me towards there's something hilarious here in all of this slaughter.
It's that sort of knowing nudge, nudge, wink, wink to the audience all the time, which that kind of character is able to do in a much more comic. It's sort of the more comic mode, because I think there is even comedy in Hoffman as well from the previous scene, but he wears it lighter. Yeah, I'll do all the murdery stuff. That's fine. I just want to survive, and I'll tell some jokes as I go along, whereas Hoffman is much more committed to the murdery stuff for obvious reasons. Other thoughts in the room, Lynn?
Yeah, I mean, maybe not quite this period, but shortly thereafter, when you get to Jacobean tragedy, you do have characters, particularly male characters, who are just dumb as paint. But they're not usually the son of a head of state. It's really unusual to have royalty speak in prose and be a clown character and be stupid. So there's something kind of unusual going on here, and I think maybe Aliki's right about the tone. You wouldn't have a prince who's an idiot if this was really kind of all serious tragedy.
And they're talking about a murder here, quite lightly. It's just where's the body? Well, it's probably been eaten by a seal or a shark or a sturgeon, at this point, and cut his throat. There's it's some interesting stuff going on there.
Yeah.
Eric.
So would this be like a B movie type thing where you've got like sort of bad things are happening, but it's very hard to take seriously?
I think it's hard to feel bad about the people dying in this play. It has to be said. I'm not that far. They can all die, and I'll enjoy it because it's not like I'm sitting here going I'm rooting for Prussia. You know, because I have no idea what is going on in this court at all. Really, I mean, when that scene started, and I'm going, "Who are you? What's going on? I don't understand. There are things, stuff. It's fine. I'm vaguely with it, but again, does it really matter? It's just a bridge to get to the next brutal murder, isn't it? Sarah."
Lynn, did you want to come back?
I was
on
just
that
gonna, pop in and say the reason we're gonna delay the marriage, or we haven't approved this yet, is that I hear your parents aren't getting along, so that actually might come to something. A head of state and his wife are at loggerheads, so we'll see.
Oh, I'm sure there will be the development of other strands to a plot, but I'm at the moment gonna reserve the probability that they're all effectively MacGuffins for the next series of horrible murders. Sarah, and then Francis.
Yeah, I am not saying for a moment that this is what the playwright's intention was at all, but for a modern day production, you could perhaps take the weirdnesses in this scene. I mean, it depends on how the play unfolds, but you could take them as a sort of signal to make the court kind of very creepy and unhealthy. Like if it's very sort of, if all the cousins have been marrying each other for several generations. And the fact that the murder is talked about in quite light terms, that could actually be really horrifying, depending on how you play it. If you make it this very inward, disturbing court, I think you could go that way with it from what's in the text if you wanted to. I'm not saying that was the original intention, but it's one way you could stage it, and then actually that would be quite an interesting counter to what's going on the other side of the fence, which is also super disturbing.
Francis, muted at the moment.
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify, Ferdinand has never met Otho. Am I right?
Right. Right.
Seems...
It's his nephew, but he's never met him.
Yeah.
So Hoffman is going to pretend to be...
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it seems strange.
I'd say setting up the excuse for Hoffman to go around setting up his next dastardly deeds, because he's had his throat cut, yes, and thrown into the sea. We've been here before, and I forget which play it was where someone gets that allegedly happens. I think it actually did happen. I can't remember. Anyway, they all blur into one after a while. So, okay, let's move on to the next scene, because everything always goes up a gear when Hoffman's on stage. Act 1, Scene 3, enter Hoffman and the skeleton of Otto.
If there live ever a surgeon that dare say he could do better, I'll play Mercury, and like fond Mathias, the quacksilver flay. They were a sort of filthy mountebanks, expert in nothing but idle words, made a day's work with their incision knives on my oppressed poor father. Silly men, thrusting their dastard fingers in his flesh, that durst not, while he lived, behold his face. I fitted my anatomy in a fair chain too. Father, this youth scorned when he was set on an ascending throne to have you stand by him. Would he could see how the case alters. You shall hang by him, and hang afore him too, for all his pride.
And he hangs up the skeleton so that they're next to each other.
Come, image of bare death, join side to side with my long-injured father's naked bones. He was the prologue to a tragedy that, if my destinies deny me not, shall pass those of Thyestes, Tereus, Jocasta, or Duke Jason's jealous wife. So shut our stage up. There is one act done, ended in Otto's death. 'Twas somewhat single. I'll fill the other fuller, if Lorrique, that I have late sworn to be a murther's slave, swears he will protest me to be Otto, whom Prussia his uncle, unknown, loves. If I be taken from him, well, oh then, sweet vengeance, make me happiest of all men. Prussia, I come as comets against change, as apparitions before mortal ends. If thou accept me for thy nephew, so, uncle, I'll uncle thee of thy proud life. Father, farewell. I'll to the hermitage, where, if I be received for Lüneburg, I will have thy dry bones sanguined all o'er with thy foe's blood. Rhamnusia, help thy priest. My wrongs thou know'st, my willingness thou seest.
And exit Hoffman. So Hoffman's just building up his dead body collection. So yeah, I mean, this is the thing. Where's he keeping them? I'm quite interested in the logistics of this. Where do you keep? It's a skeleton. So has it been desiccated? Has he articulated all of the bones so that they're all or is it just slightly? I mean, what is this skeleton? And how much time and effort did he go into making sure? Because it's once you've got a body, and you've just got the bones, it's quite easy to lose track as to which precisely go where. I mean, it's actually you have to really keep track of that kind of thing because it's very easy to make a mistake there. So it could be a terrible, This is why so many dinosaurs look wrong. It's because they got the bones in the wrong order. Anyway, Francis, then Sarah.
Yeah, this is real serial killer behavior, isn't it? Keeping the trophies of your victims and sort of hanging them next to the the person who's been wronged. A modern audience would recognize this.
Yeah. It's a bit Bates Motel here, isn't it?
Yeah, it is very much so.
Sarah,
I'm seeing a little wardrobe on wheels.
IKEA.
But no, that was not what I was going to say. I kind of terrifyingly, I'm wondering if this. I mean, the skeleton I think refers to his father, because he's talking to his father through this scene. But I'm wondering actually if Otto is already a skeleton or whether he's actually flaying him during this soliloquy, because he does have that line about Mathias and flaying.
I think
could
logistically
just be...
that's really hard to do. I mean, he's definitely setting the two up next to each other so that Daddy can look on all his works. But
I'm wondering if there's a bit more meat still left on Otto, though. He might be
this is why I was asking about the articulation, because once the meat's off, the skeleton will just fall apart.
Yeah,
so
I'm thinking it might be a bit more bloody than that. You could have the father there who is literally all burned bones, but then, I have a feeling there's something a bit more gory going on in this scene.
Aliki.
Yeah, I'm with Rob. Logistically, articulation will be a lot easier for us to handle. All we need is just a little bit of red on the bones, and he can be, tying up the last phalanges into the...
If you are a serial killer and you could give us some advice on what to do with skeletons after death, do let us know.
In the notes.
Suggestions in the comments. All will be suitably passed on to Scotland Yard. Okay, this is getting grim. Let's go into Act 2. Please, dear God, let's go into Act 2. Okay, Act 2, Scene 1. Enter Jerome and Stilt.
Come, Stilt, bestir your stumps. You know I must be a tilter.
Aye, my lord, I know you should be one, but I hope you're not so mad.
What? Dost thou count it madness to run a tilt?
Aye, my lord, for you that cannot sit a hobby, you'll hardly manage a tilt horse.
Why, they say, Stilt, that stone mares are gentler. See if you can get me one of them.
Not a 4x grass. I could help you now to a stone mule or a stone ass.
Well, I'll try one course with thee at the half pike, and then go. Come, draw thy pike.
That's not your fit word. You must say, advance your pike, and you must be here, sir, and there, sir. You'll never learn for all my teaching.
I have answered you, Stilt, that princes have no need to be taught, and I've even determined with myself not to run a tilt, lest I hazard my horse and harness. Therefore, I'll to the court, and only see my new cousin, that they say was drowned, and then retire to my castle at Helsen, and there write a new poem that I have taken pains in about these 10 years. It is in praise of Pictooths.
That will be excellent, my lord. The barbers will buy those poems abominably.
Nay, sir, I'll get a patent from the Duke, my father, for that poem, cum privilegio ad imprimendum solum. Besides, thou shalt have a privilege that no man shall sell toothpicks without my seal. My father says I'm a fool, but I think I bestow my time well to look out for setting a new nap upon his threadbare commonwealth. Who's that knocks? Who dares disturb our honourable meditation? Hark, Stilt, dost thou see no noise?
No, but I hear a noise.
Oh, then, my father and my cousin, stand aside that I may set my countenance right to the mirror of knighthood, for your mirror of magistrates is somewhat too sober. How likest me?
Oh, excellent. Where's your casting bottle?
Sprinkle, good Stilt, sprinkle, for my late practice hath brought me into a strange savour. Oh. Ah, mother of me, thou hast almost blinded the eyes of excellence. Omnia bene. Let them approach now, and I appear not like a prince. Let my father cashier me, as some say he will.
Cashier you? No. Do but manage your body and have here and here your congees, and then good sequitur. Stilt knows, and all the court shall see.
Halt, boys. Enter the King of Prussia leading Hoffman, Mathias and Lodowick leading Lucibella, Lorrique with other lords attending. Coming near the chair of state, the Duke of Prussia ascends, places Hoffman at his feet, and sets a coronet on his head. A herald proclaims.
Ferdinand, by the divine grace, Prince of Heidelberg, Lord of Pomerania, and the Duke of Prussia, for sundry reasons, him moving, the quiet state of his people especially, which, as a witless and insufficient prince, disinherits Jerome Heidelberg, his known son, and adopteth Otto of Lüneburg, his sister's son, as heir, immediately to succeed after his death. In all his provinces, God save Duke Ferdinand and Otto his heir.
And there's a flourish.
Amen. Heaven witness now my heart is pleased with the conceit of Prussia's after peace by this election.
But hear you, father.
Away, disturb us not. Let's on and feast, for all our country in our choice is blessed.
And exit all except for Jerome and Stilt.
Why, but Stilt? What's now to be done, Stilt?
Nay, that's more than I know. This matter will trouble us more than all your poem of toothpicks. Snails, you are better on knight than on prince. I've lost all hopes of preferment of this old.
No more, Stilt. I have it here. 'Tis in my head. Out it shall not come, till red revenge in robes of fire and madding mischief run and rave. They say I am a fool, Stilt, but follow me. I'll seek out my notes of Machiavel. They say he is an odd politician.
My faith is so odd that he hath driven in even honesty from all men's hearts.
Well, sword, Come forth, and courage enter in breast, break with grief, yet hold to be revenged. Follow me, Stilt. Widows unborn shall weep, and beardless boys with armor on their back shall bear us out. Stilt, we will tread on stilts through the purple pavement of the court, which shall be, let's see, what shall be? No court, but e'en a cave of misery. There's an excellent speech. Stilt, follow me, pursue me. We'll acquire and either die or compass my desire.
Brave master, not a lord. Stilt will stalk and make the earth a stage, but he will have the lord in spite of rage.
And they exit. So it's an interesting, we've got effectively the plot part of it, or the primary plot driver of this is Hoffman comes on, assumes his new personality, the identity theft is complete, and that literally takes up about a minute, and then we have Jerome, who's there wanting to be this exciting knight figure. He's going to have a fight, he's going to do all this stuff, he's there, he gets sprayed, he's all ready for the official occasion, and they come in and Prussia says, no, we're going off for a party. And he says, no, but I want to do my thing. It's no, we're done, bye. And yeah, he's a properly comic figure in this, isn't he? Proper comedy, but it's weird. The comedy sort of surrounds the serious bit in the middle. It's a really interesting comedy sandwich that's going on here. I'm liking the tonal shift there, Alan.
Yeah, I mean, what got me at the beginning is you've got Stilt, who's obviously the long-established retainer who knows what he's talking about, and Jerome, who's the posh boy who, no, we don't need experts. You know,
moisturize me. Stand there, spray me. Do I look ready for the arrival of everyone? And everyone just ignores him. I mean, it's just it's awful in a sense. It's sort of tragic actually, because it's like he's trying so hard and nobody cares. Eric.
Well, he's kind of like Edmund in Blackadder, but like season 1, where he's kind of dumbed down kind of thing. Whereas Stilt is kind of like, well, okay, I'll follow you. I don't really want to, but I don't know what else to do. Kind of, I don't know why he actually does follow him, because he does go, I have no chance of preferment or something. So it's kind of like, why follow the fallen lord, so to speak?
Jerome just sort of going, look, I've got some notes on Machiavel somewhere, so I'll try and be cunning and do something to get on in this court. And it's like, oh God, you've learnt politics from a book. Aliki.
Yeah, I've completely misread him, because when I went through highlighting this, I thought he was scholarly and not good at fighting. But no, he's just an idiot.
Oh, he's got the books and he's read the books.
Yeah.
He hasn't actually absorbed any of it, so he can reference the Mirror of Knighthood, which is sort of this chivalric romance thing, and Mirror of Magistrates, which is a exemplar of things. So he's read the books. He just hasn't taken any of it in.
Yeah, he can throw the word salad around, but he doesn't. Yeah, and I think that can be made very funny. It's also a matter of just the physicality of the performance. I can imagine him kind of, I don't know, Lodowick, or is it, what's the, Stilt carrying around a box of cosmetics and, a little sewing kit so that if some of his lace gets displaced in the fight, he can put it back in, that kind of thing. I think we can find that humor very easily.
Yeah, because, he's making all this stuff about these tilting jokes at the beginning, which, you can structurally see are amusing if you know all about tilts, but unfortunately nobody does anymore, so they're slightly awkward of just going, okay, that's going to be hard to make that land as comedy, but it's all there. It's not badly written, it's just history's being a little unkind to it. Lynn?
I noticed that Jerome and Stilt, Jerome initially finally switches to blank verse, and he's been in prose up to now at the end of this scene. So, that almost suggests that maybe we need to start taking him a little bit more seriously. But then he kind of bobbles the verse. The court, he's the purple pavement of the court, because it's got blood all over it, which shall be, let me see, what shall it be? So he like bobbles the verse. No court, in a cave of misery. And then Stilt picks up blank verse in his short response to that, and even ends with a rhyming couplet. So I'm not sure what to make of that. Are we supposed to think that maybe these two are actually going to be a genuine threat because now they're starting to speak like the more sophisticated characters? Or is this just a signal that they know the form but not the substance of courtship?
I really like that. That's a really good point. The moment he's mentioned Machiavel, he now then starts trying to talk in blank verse, but it doesn't quite come off. So yeah, I like that. We need to move on, but very briefly, Eric.
Yeah, I was just wondering about Jerome's age, because he comes across as like a kid almost, kind of. I mean, like sort of, yes, it won't be a court. We shall move. It will be, I don't know, sort of making stuff up as you go along kind of thing. I don't know.
Yes, no, he's definitely son of Prussia. So basically, he's just going, Dad, look at me, Dad, look at Dad. Oh, okay. It's a bit sad. It's a bit sad. I actually feel a little for Jerome. If he dies horribly, I'll be sad. I will be sad. So that's nice. Some kind of emotional engagement. Okay. Something's wrong. Nobody's died for a while. Worries me. Okay. Act 2, Scene 2. Enter Rodorick and Austria's Duke. So hopefully, doubling should be fine. Yeah, we should be okay.
Sir, since you are content, you here shall find sparing supper, but a bounteous mind, bad lodging, but a heart as free and generous as that which is fed with generous blood.
Your hermitage is furnished for a prince.
Last night, this roof covered the sacred heads of 5 most noble, fair, and gracious princes. Duke Ferdinand himself, and Otho his nephew, the son of Saxony and the Austrian princess.
Oh, God, that girl which fled my court in love, mating love colour for her heedless flight.
Pardon, great prince, are you the Austrian duke?
Hermit I am. Saxony's proud wanton sons were entertained like Priam's firebrand at Sparta. All our state gladly appeared like cheerful Lacedaemons to receive those demons that with magic of their tongues bewitched my Lucibelle's, my Helen's ears.
And there's knocking without.
Who travelleth so late? Who knocks so hard? Turn to the east end of the chapel, pray. We're ready to attend you.
Enter the Duke of Saxony.
Which is the way to Danzig?
There is no way to Danzig you can find without a guide thus late. Come near, I pray.
Look to our horses. By your leave, Master Hermit, we are soon bidden and will prove bold guests. God save you, sir.
That should be Saxony's tongue.
Indeed, I am the Duke of Saxony.
Then art thou father to lascivious sons that have made Austria childless.
Subtle Duke, thy craft appears in framing thy excuse. Thou dost accuse my young son's innocence. I sent them to get knowledge, learn the tongues, not to be metamorphosed with the view of flattering beauty, peradventure painted.
No, I defy thee, John of Saxony. My Lucibelle for beauty needs no art, nor do I think the virtues of her mind ever inclined to this ignoble course, but by the charms and forcing of thy sons.
Oh, would thou durst maintain thy words, proud Duke!
And draws his sword.
I hope, great princes, neither of you dare commit a deed so sacrilegious. This holy cell is dedicated to the son of peace. The foot of war never profaned this floor, nor doth wrath here with this consuming voice affright these buildings. Charity with prayer, humility with abstinence combined, are here the guardians of a grieved mind.
Father, we obey thy holy voice. Duke John of Saxony, receive my faith. Till our ears hear the true course thy sons have taken with my fond and misled child, I proclaim truce. Why dost thou sullen stand? If thou meanest peace, give me thy princely hand.
Thus do I plight thee troth and promise peace.
Nay, but thy eyes agree not with thy heart. In vows of combination, there's a grace that shows the intention in the outward face look cheerfully, or I expect no league.
First, give me leave to view a while the person of this hermit. Austria, note him well. Is he not like my brother Rodorick?
He's like him, but I heard he lost his life long since in Prussia by the Sophies Wars.
I heard so much, my lords, but that report was purely feigned, spread by my erring tongue. I am that Roderick that aspired your throne, that vile, false brother, who, with rebel breath, drawn sword and treacherous heart, threatened your death.
My brother? Nay, then, old John, lay by thy sorrowing thoughts, turn to thy wonted vein, and be mad John of Saxony again. Mad Roderick, art alive? My mother's son, her joy and her last birth? Oh, she conjured me to use thee thus, and yet I banished thee. Body of me, I was unkind, I know, but thou deservest it then. But let it go. Say, wilt thou leave this life so truly idle, and live a statesman? Thou shalt share in reign, commanding all but me, thy sovereign.
I thank your highness. I will think on it. But for my sins, this sufferance is more fit.
Tut, tittle-tattle, tell not me of sin. Now, Austria, once again thy princely hand, I'll look thee in the face and smile and swear if any of my sons have wronged thy child, I'll help thee in revenging it myself. But if, as I believe, they mean but honour, as it appeareth by these jousts proclaimed, then shalt thou be content to name him thine, and thy fair daughter I'll account as mine.
Agreed.
Ah, Austria, 'twas a world when you and I ran these careers, but now we're stiff and dry.
I'm glad you are so pleasant, my good lord.
'Twas my old mood, but I was soon turned with over-grieving for this long-lost lad. And now this boy is grown as old as I. His very face is full of gravity.
Please, your graces, enter. I know the servants that attend on me by the appointment of the Duke Ferdinand, by this have covered.
Why, then, let's in. Brother, I trust, as brother, hold you this hand. Roderick, hold thou the other. By heaven, my heart with happiness is crowned in that my long-lost brother is now found.
And they exit, and we seem to once again have wandered into the end of another play. And it's like, oh, he looks a bit like your brother. I am. Schlumpf. And it's just like, what? Where is this? I mean, they're coming on discussing, there's discussion of the, elements from earlier about Lucibella, who's sort of been in, said a speech and been mentioned in passing a lot, but nothing has actually happened. And then we got two guys turn up some holy place and start having a fight, and then it turns out that what? I don't know why any of this is happening. I'm sure it all makes sense, but it's just like none of this has been set up. Or if it has, it's been done so cunningly and I didn't notice. It's so extra and random. I'm not enjoying it. I just don't know where the hell any of this is coming from. Sarah.
I mean, it would obviously be more, obvious on stage who everybody was, because you'd have the bodies there. But I'm wondering if this is done on purpose, because during that scene, I kept going back to the cast list because I'm like, now wait, he's the Duke of so and so, and he's the father of these two, and then he's the Duke of there, and he's the father of this one, and he's the uncle of that one, and he's the Duke of elsewhere. Oh, now he's his brother, and he has a name that's really similar to one of the sons of that one. This cannot be a coincidence. I'm sure there's and then you throw in a disguise plot as well, which we already have with Hoffman pretending to be Otto, I am sure this melee of people who are kind of all weirdly related to each other or surprisingly related to each other is deliberate just to confuse us. I think that's probably it has to be intentional.
It just feels like this is part 2. It feels like we're supposed to know who these people are already. It really does feel like we're missing the setup to the whole play. It's like we should have had a play where Rodorick left and disappeared and had adventures, and Hoffman's father was murdered, and all this stuff is supposed to happen, because it doesn't seem to be delivering exposition in a way that satisfies fully. It's just like it feels so random. I'm not enjoying it. I'm just finding it very weird. Okay, we need to read the final scene of the session, so hold on to any additional thoughts that you may have. Here's where we might have the most extreme doubling, where the doubling may fall apart, so beware. Act 2, Scene 3, Hoffman alone.
So, run on, fate. My destinies are good. Revenge hath made me great by shedding blood. I am supposed the heir of Lüneburg, by which I am of Prussia prince-elect. Good. Who's wronged by this? Only a fool. And 'tis not fit that idiots should bear rule.
Enter Lorrique.
My lord, I have, as you enjoined, enticed Saxon's elder son to talk with you. Oh, and there he comes, with his most excellent, amorous, and admirable lady.
Hast thou the hermit's weeds for my disguise?
All ready and fitting in the next chamber. Your beard is point vice, not a hair amiss.
Faithful Lorrique, in thy unfaithfulness I kiss thy cheek, and give thee in that kiss the moiety of all my earthly bliss.
Exit Hoffman.
Good. I am half a monarch, half a fiend. Blood I began in, and in blood must end. Yet this Klaus is an honest villain. He has conscience in his killing of men. He kills none but his father's enemies, and their issue. Yes, 'tis admirable. 'Tis excellent. 'Tis meritorious. Where? In heaven? No, in hell.
Enter Lodowick and Lucibella.
Now, friend, where is Prince Otho?
Sad, sir, and grieved.
Why, prithee, why?
Alas, I know not why. The hermit Rodorick talked with him somewhat of you and somewhat of the Duke, about surprising you and murdering Lodowick, or such a thing. I'm sure it was some such thing.
Surprising me and murdering Lodowick?
By whom? By what complot?
Oh, sure, by the Duke's. Oh, the Duke's an odd old lad. I know, this night there's set a double guard, and there's some trick in that. But patience! Here comes the hermit, holy reverend man.
Enter Hoffman like a hermit.
Somewhat important wings his aged feet with speedy nimbleness. Heaven grant that all be well.
Princes, in pity of your youth, your love, your virtues, and what not, that may move ruth, I offer you the tender of your lives, which yet you may preserve. But if you stay, death and destruction waiteth on your delay.
Who hath conspired our death? Speak, reverend man.
The Duke of Prussia, doting on your face, worthy indeed of wonder, being so fair, this night hath plotted first to murder you. The guard is set, that you may not escape within, without, and round about the court. Only one way, through Prince Otto's lodging, is left. Here is the key, and for more proof of my great zeal and care, on with these robes. Within are Grecian habits for your heads. Nay, if you love life, do not stand amazed, but take the path put towards my hermitage. Yet I advise you that you go not in. There may be more plots too, for aught I know, but turn down by the river. There's a way leads to a little chapel in that porch. Stay till I visit you with better news.
I will but call my brother and then go.
That we're a-going never to return. I'll send him after you. Be well assured.
Oh God, the Prince of Prussia grown thus false. Such shows of friendship and so little faith.
Come, Lucibella, let's embrace these means. Duke Ferdinand shall, with a sorrowing heart, repent this base, dishonorable plot. Father, our fortunes, if they sort aright, shall with continual thankfulness requite this virtuous and charitable care. Farewell, we'll meet thee in the chapel porch. Bring Prince Mathias, our kind brother, thither, and thou shalt add good works to charity. Once more, farewell. Lorrique, here, there is for thee. Commend me to thy lord, and tell him this wrong of his false uncle shall meet full revenge. But due to him our duties. Come, chaste fair, we must not now with tilt and tournament maintain thy honour, for thy champion knight is forced by treason to unwilling flight.
Exeunt Lodowick and Lucibella.
So, run to mischief? Oh, my dear Lorrique, when I have summed up my account of death and robbed those fathers of their lives and joys that robbed me of my joy, my father's life, thus, thy hand clasped in mine, will walk and meditate, and boast in the revenges I have wrought. That done, I'll seat thee by my throne of state, and make thee rival in those governments that, by thy secrecy, thou lift'st me to. Shalt be a duke, at least.
I thank your grace. But pray resolve me what you now intend to these two princes, Lodowick and Mathias, and the thrice beauteous princess, Lucibella.
Death, certain. Call in Mathias. If my plot prove good, I'll make one brother shed the other's blood.
I'm nimble as your thought. Devise, I'll execute what you command.
Exit Lorrique.
A precious villain. A good villain, too. Well, if he be no worse, that is, do no worse, and honey me in my death-stinging thoughts, I will prefer him. He shall be preferred. To hanging, peradventure. Why not? 'Tis well. His sufferance here may save his soul from hell.
Re-enter Lorrique.
He comes. What news, my faithful servant? Where's the prince?
He's talking with the lady Lucibella, and when I said your highness sent for him, he gan with courtly salutations to take his leave and to attend your grace.
Well, God have mercy, friend. Thou'st got me grace. But more of that at leisure. Take this gown, my cloak, a chair. I must turn melancholy. A second, whate'er I say, approve my words, that we may move Mathias to mad rage.
Enter Mathias.
God save your excellency. What? Sad? Dull? Heavy? Or are you now in meditation? Which part to take tomorrow at the tilt? The mead is ringed with tents of strange knights, whose rich devices and comparisons exceed the Persian monarchs when he met destruction and pale death, sent from the sword of Philip's son, and his stout Macedons. Cheerly, Prince Otho, there's such warlike sight that would stir up a leaden heart to fight.
For what?
For honour, and fair Lucibella.
O Prince Mathias, it is well combined when honour is with fickle beauty joined. Where's your princely brother?
I cannot tell. I left him with his loved Lucibella.
But she has got another love. Dishonoured, all this rich assembly left the memorial of such infamy as cannot die while men have memory.
How? Pray you, how? What hath the princess done?
She, with a Grecian, is but now fled hence. Belike some other love of hers before, our Tilton tournament is spoiled and crossed. The fair we should defend, her faith is lost.
Fled? With a Grecian? Saw you them go, Prince Otho?
Aye, I saw them go.
And would not stay them?
My true servant knows how, at the sight of such inconstancy, my gentle heart was smite with inward grief, and I sank down with sorrow.
'Sdeath, what path? Which way? That I may overtake her harlot steps. Fled now? Gone now? I'll go see Lodowick.
Nay, then you add an irreligious work to their lascivious acts. Follow yourself. I and my man will bear you company. Lorrique, as I think, thou namest a Chapple a hermit, some such thing? I've lost the form.
I heard her say she could not travel far. He told her they would rest the dead of night near to a chapel by a hermitage.
Where is that chapel? Where's that hermitage? If you love honour, princely Lüneburg, let's to that chapel, if you know the way. Go that I may kill our shame ere it see day.
I'll guide you to the chapel, aid your arm in your revenge against that Grecian, but for the lady, spare her. She is fair.
I will do what I can. Oh, hell of life! Who but a fool would strive to win a wife? Shall we call Lodowick?
No. 'Twould smite his soul in sunder, split his heart if he should hear of such adulterate wrong. Cover the fault or punish, as you please. Yet I would save her, fain, for she deserves pity for her beauty.
For nothing? No, nothing. She is a harlot, fair, like gilded tombs, goodly without, within, all rottenness. She's like a painted fire upon a hill, said to allure the frost-nipped passengers and starve them after hope. She is indeed all such trumpets are, angel in show, devil in heart. Come, if you love me, go.
Exit Mathias.
Follow, Lorrique. We are in the right way.
Exit Hoffman.
Hell, I fear. Hush, let all fear go by. Who'll shun a bad way with good company?
And exit Lorrique. And that feels like that sort of sums up the play, really. Who'd shun a bad way with good company? You know, we're setting up some murders, and I'm sure next time we will get some payoff on the setup there. It's we mentioned last scene is all disguise plot, or at least someone who has changed their life plot. He's not necessarily technically in disguise, but obviously Hoffman is in disguise in the sense that he's stolen somebody else's identity, and now he's literally in disguise because he's now dressing up like a hermit. And say the Admiral's men's stock has got hermitage roles, and maybe this is sort of the last gasp of that sort of disguise plot sort of turnover, because we've got a few people who are potentially doing things, and also just that cunning way of I'll make them kill each other. And we're going to obviously enjoy. I think Lorrique's got some really nice lines going on here. He has conscience in his killing of men. He kills none but his father's enemies and their issue, and probably everyone else. And it's just like it's admirable. It's great. Except it clearly isn't. Well, it is if you're going to hell. Sarah.
I've never known a tragic hero or anti-hero, I should say, talk in so many rhyming couplets. It's just hilarious because, he's kind of storming about seeking revenge and, murdering people and plotting to murder people left, right, and centre, but he's doing it in all these rhyming couplets, and it's kind of adding a whole breezy tone to the to the proceedings, which is kind of hilarious and just like makes it more disturbing in a way.
Yeah, I mean, it does have a fair old lick to it, doesn't it? It's and there's some really lovely stuff going on here in the way it's playing around. Other thoughts, Eric?
I find it interesting how we get like sort of we get the plot set up, like sort of the disguise to kill people plot set up, and then sort of the payoff comes almost immediately. Kind of like by the end of the scene, he's going to have them kill each other, kind of thing. I mean, I just find it very interesting. Usually in other plays, you get it sort of like, oh, what is he? There's no suspense like between the two.
I mean, it's calling back to things that Marlowe was doing 15 years earlier or so. It's very Jew of Malta. And in the way this particular central villain is functioning, and he's quite similar to some of the some of the other Marlovian heroes as well. Sort of just that sort of enjoying, reveling in destruction in that way, and also mixing the comedy as well. And it's also, I say, it's something that I think Marston at the same time is sort of dancing around with as well. I mean, Malcontent's a year away or so, and the central character in that, though less murdery, is similarly dancing around. Enjoying the fact that he's stage managing everything. There's the stage management quality, and the fact he's constantly talking about it like it's a play, with and the people are his actors. Aliki, then Sarah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is about form in a way, and I think that the part of Europe with its many different lords and dukes and princes and kings has been chosen deliberately so that you can have so many plots, none of which give you time to care about any of the characters because there are so many of them. So it's like, aha, dastardly kill this one, aha, dastardly kill this one, I will disguise myself as this, I will disguise myself as that. Isn't it fun having revenge for your father's death? It's great.
Yeah, what did he do for entertainment before? I don't know. I have this image. Maybe he was a wedding planner or something. It's just that kind of thing. Where can you have the similar level of chaos and control over other people's lives? Sarah.
Yeah, I'm thinking he was one of those life coaches that helps you sort your stuff out because he's so tidy. He's like it's so neat. I mean, Eric's kind of already said this, but it's like, and what Aliki was just saying as well about the plot. So many plots, but it's like they're things to be tidied away. Usually more than one plot is set up in order to throw, obstacles in the way of the protagonist. But he really hasn't had any obstacles yet. We've done the first two acts, and he's just kind of basically, all the plots have done is that they've introduced sort of people for him to use and manipulate and dispose of as according to his plan. So this is kind of
We're just
ridiculously wonderful.
We've
yeah,
just got
exactly.
All these victims being lined up.
Being
and it's
lined
like
up, but
they've got some basic storyline for why they're there, but we don't care.
No, exactly. And it's just like it's like he's got a tick list, and he's just like, oh yes, and it's so orderly and methodical. He's just going through it all, and all the stuff that you would usually expect to kind of get in the way and cause him drama and conflict. It's just not there. It's like, oh, da-dum, 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 da-dum. Hey, and it's not how I'm used to seeing plays structured, but it is kind of entertaining.
I mean, it is that thing. Actually, I think Lorrique has brought up the crux of the problem with revenge, which is, at what point do you stop? Because he's killed his father's murderer. Or the person set it up. And now he's working down the generation. At what point does he stop killing? Because he's seriously into it. And at what point does he go from revenger to just straightforward serial killer? And I think he may already have crossed that line, or it may have done by the end of the next scene. Lynn.
Yeah, because Otto was Prussia's older son, is that
Hmm.
right? So Prussia is the person that he really wants revenge on, and Lodowick and his brother Mathias are sons of someone else. They're not really in the direct line of Hoffman's purported enemies. So he wants to get rid of them, I suspect, because he wants to marry Lucibella. Because Lucibella, as Prussia's sister's daughter, she and her husband were going to be heirs of Prussia because Jerome's an idiot. So, as you know, I don't know. Prussia couldn't have been Otto's son. It was somebody else's son.
He has to be somebody else's son. I was just thinking that.
Yeah. So is that
his nephew to Prussia?
yeah. So is Lüneburg, whom we never see? No, I'm so never mind. My brain just collapsed. So sorry.
Yeah, I don't think he's trying to marry Lucibella either, because she's on the list.
Yeah, but he says don't kill her.
Sarah.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to marry her. I think there are probably very distinct reasons why he doesn't want her dead yet, but they have nothing to do with marriage.
So yeah, turns out nice. I told you, after all those comedies, we needed something to cheer ourselves up, and this is quite the tonic. So final thoughts from around the room. I think we've already identified sort of the pitfalls for this for a modern audience, that the comedy side of it could go too far. But then part of me thinking, actually, I think if there is an invitation implicit in the text, actually, that there is humour here, then actually it may be a self-sealing problem, if that makes sense, and that the humour is with it rather than against the mood of it all. Maybe we just go with the quality of the opening and just roll with it, and maybe it's a guilty pleasure, and that's what this is trying to do. Final thoughts in the room, Alan.
I must admit, it feels to me almost as if it's a pastiche of the revenge, oblique, dysfunctional royal family plot that we've seen elsewhere, in some cases in places we're not allowed to mention. And whether, in fact, the whole thing was originally conceived as basically as an entertainment. Oh, we've got some good props, we've got some ideas for effects. We've got a prop man who's seriously perverted and likes playing around with skeletons. Let's go for it. We've got all these disguised costumes in stock anyway. So, it's not going to cost us an awful lot for the props budget.
It is an interesting, slightly disturbing point, actually, that if you're going to try and produce skeletons in the early modern period before plastic, they might actually literally be some actual people's bones. I mean, I can't imagine someone whittling a skeleton. But I know wax dummies sometimes for your full body, but I don't think that's going to work for a skeleton. So there's a thought. I don't know whether it fully falls into pastiche. I think it's right that it's feeding off other plays, and it is fleet of foot. I don't know because we've seen Geronimo, which is about the same time as this, which is out and out comedy reworking of Spanish tragedy, or reworking of the Spanish comedy, in a parodic way. I'm not sure this is quite going that way. I think it just enjoys being extra, possibly. Francis. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. I mean, it's completely bonkers, but it holds your interest. Yeah, and I don't think there's much more to be said than that.
No, I mean, this it has to be said. This is very much my kind of play. This is what I want from a night out. Or more importantly, as an actor, this is something there is so much scenery here to chew, even if you're not Hoffman. Actually, I mean, some of the other parts are nowhere near as fun, but yeah. Lynn, any final thoughts?
I think the biggest challenge isn't the tone. I think it's just this kind of crazy dark comedy is what we would call it now. What I'm really struggling with is keeping the relationships clear. Who is it now? I can't even remember. But which head of state is Hoffman's enemy? Who are his heirs? Who was Otto's? See, I've lost track. So that's a challenge, is keeping that at least clear enough in your audience's mind that they understand the political plot. That's kind of my feeling.
Aliki, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I'm with you. This is my kind of thing. I think it could really be made to work for a modern audience. There's no reason why not. Television audiences have reveled in Hannibal and Dexter, and yeah, let's have our serial killers. Not for real, obviously. If there are any actual serial killers listening, please stop killing people. Anyway, and I had a thought for Lynn's question, which I think is absolutely spot on. It's so confusing. I think I've kind of halfway worked my way through who everybody is. Since I can't even remember his name. Since young Hoffman, our hero, our villain, is so into telling us meta stuff, he should totally have
a flow chart.
A chart. Do the complete kind hearts and coronets with it, and just like tick people off and come back in these monologues and be like, yeah, and this guy. And you could even have what are they called? Those mime bits that we find in some of the plays.
Dumb shows.
Yeah. Dumb show. We could even have a dumb show to illustrate it. It's this guy. I'm going to get him.
Yes, music plays and you have this sort of little procession of targets. They're all carrying targets, and he's just they're all putting on red jumpers. And Eric, any final thoughts?
Just wondering what kind of budget Hoffman actually has. I mean, he carries like a proper like wardrobe with him. He's got like all these disguises, I'm just really surprised that he can get Lorrique or Lorrique or however his name is. Please, if you know any pronunciation things, throw it at us. Just I don't know, just this play is doing so many weird things. And there's a part of me going, I want to go back to plays from this period to see what it might be referring to, but I don't know. Maybe it's not referring to anything. Maybe it's something new. Just going back to Aliki's point. Just for serial killers. No, just stop. So Sarah, any final thoughts?
Not much. Not that hasn't already been said. I do think I share your pain, Lynn, about the confusion over everybody, but I'm sure it's deliberate, and I think it ties into what Rob was saying earlier about the fact that we don't care about any of these people. None of these people have been given a backstory. None of these people have been set up as people that we care about, and in a way, I think the confusion with all the many dukes and the many children and the names that are so similar is deliberate. It plays into that, because if you can't remember who's who or how they're related, then you can't actually kind of create those bonds of empathy or compassion that usually ties you as an audience member to the characters in a play. And that means that you are kind of left free to enjoy the violence, which I can't believe I'm saying all of this, because I loathe violence and I loathe gore, and I never watch anything remotely violent on the TV, but I am really enjoying this. I think the subtitle, rather than being called A Revenge for a Father, it should be A Cheerful Tragedy or something like that, because that so far is what it is. It's just it's just kind of riotous. It cracks along. It's such a hoot. I'm really enjoying it. I don't know that I would go and see a production of it. Not at least without taking my cushion. But it is one, yeah, it's definitely one, to enjoy performing. I have really enjoyed performing Hoffman today, so thank you very much for that.
Yeah, I mean, just going back to Eric's point about what's about this at the same time. And I said we've been mostly doing comedies because that's basically, in terms of surviving texts that come to us chronologically, the last two plays there's only two plays I can find in the previous few years, just quickly looking through my charts, that are anything like this. We've got the Lust's Dominion, or the Spanish War's Tragedy, which is similarly bonkers and deeply problematic in so many ways. Far harder to enjoy, but it does also have some enjoyable bits in it. And Antonia's Revenge, and that's sort of it, actually, in terms of your pure murderiness within our material. So in terms of what the commercial stage is doing, so they're and non-commercial stage as well. So that isn't to say there aren't other things going on. That's just within the snapshot that we have. Other snapshots may be available. Well, next time let's find out whether Lodowick and etc. Get away or not. See how many of the people set up for death survive. Stay with us next time to see how many of our readers have to keep picking up a new part because the previous one has died. On that note, thanks to all the wonderful readers for their wonderful reading. Thank you very much and goodbye. Hence, clouds of melancholy.